I can't get enough of your love. Oh man, I'll tell you what, digging some Paul Rogers and a little bad company here on this Thursday. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? So good to see you as I get in here and as the bus begins to pull away. Um, Off we go. It's a beautiful day. Speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken, be our ever founding reality. All right, I think I covered the bases. How are y'all? Good to see everybody. Man, chat room is acting full. I mean, by the Full, full of knowledge, full of different ideas as I wait for that one to catch up. But in the interim, hey, there I am. Steiger, how are you doing? I was really digging some bad company. Yeah, remember when we saw them back there in 1974? Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Had an adventure at Hippie's Hollow. But anyway, I digress. How are y'all? Good to see you, Shirley. Hello. How are you? Sending healing, darling, to you. Letty, Ellie, good to see you. Mary Wins, much love, darling. I have the maelstrom. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Lauren, how are you? What time is it? Like 5 a.m. there? Good to see you, my dear. Speaking favor over you. Scotty boy, how are you, sir? Gaia, much love. Hello, Chloe. Good to see you, Emperor X. John Price, Joe Sapien. Mark Smith, how you doing, brother? How's the weather down there? Warm, I hope. Charlotte, good to see you. What else is going on? And a dozen different thoughts. So, Blazing River, how are you? Paul Rogers, yeah. That was a hell of a concert. Um, the concert was with ZZ Top. They made an album, Fandango. And if you got the original album, if you open it up, well, it was right there in Austin, Texas, right there on the University of Texas at Texas Stadium. And they came on, and Jimmy Page came on playing, you know, with them, and it was quite the show. Good times, good times. Hotter than blazing, man. So freaking hot. But if you grew up down there in Texas, yeah, the South, and I guess in Australia as well. And there's what the hell, it gets hot there as well. So anyway, doing a little bit. Oh, it's hot, Mark says. So, well, brother, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. John, you had the 8 track. Yeah. Wow. Good days, wasn't it? I mean, think about it. Or at least was for me. I mean, I lived on the street and I figured out things pretty quickly. You had to. It eats you alive. And, each day became an adventure. Like, um, where are you going to get laid? Getting high was not an issue, but for a lot of other people, yeah, yeah, good times. So anyway, as I going back there, hey, Papa Lee, good to see you as well. Hello. So anyway, what else happened? Saw Dr. SY, saw your comments, and I love it. This is what this environment is supposed to do. It's supposed to increase, challenge our core beliefs, our core ideas of who and what we are. And we learn. We learn from one another. I may disagree and you may disagree with me, but that's the point. It's, there's an expression in the book of Proverbs that says iron sharpens iron. And it's true. Um, in my life, I've seemed to be attracted and attracted in um, mentors. people who had accomplished more than I had at that time and who had a, an understanding and a knowledge that I didn't possess that I did want to possess. And I had favor. I was talking to myself earlier. I've had favor all my life. It's shown up so many times. It's not even debatable. And these mentors in my life were people who, had accomplished things. They were excellent. So I look back, such favor, and I learned from them. And so anyway, that's how you get it. Now, I may not agree with what the doc says, but you know, it's the thing about when we have the discussion about cycles. You see, it's not that I don't see the evidence of cycles, but I can't help but not believe, at least think that, like the trap of getting caught in good and evil constructs, that there's a higher realm. Because there comes, I believe, there is this place that, you know, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whether you have this side, that side, upside, downside, doesn't matter. We get so we get our panties in a wad when, because, we begin to think on these higher levels and, but yet we still have to have the anchors into a foundation or construct that would give at least some solidity to the thought. Now, cycles exist, but I believe there is that realm, that dimension that is above a cycle. Has to be. A cycle is a creation of something. I'm not sure what. Hey, Flight Risk, how are you doing? Good to see you. Rick, what's up, brother? Jackie, hello. As I look over there, I can't keep up with the chat room. Like, what? But my point is, I can't help but not think that there's something even higher above myself. I get accused because, I'm no longer a Christian. I'm of no particular, you know, theology, ideology, nor philosophy, come to think about it, because I always have to remember this. No matter what I can think, there has to be something higher than that. Anyway, so my dissertation today, Doc, is going to, if we were to debate this on you know, on a stage, I would say, well, my evidence would counter that. I believe that, in fact, we are gods. And so let's get right into it, because this would be my presentation to you, the audience, as to why I believe, in fact, the evidence is overwhelming that we are, in fact, gods, all of us. I open with this. The vast majority of people do not and will not ever believe or accept that they are a god. It's so foreign to their core construct of their belief system that they summarily reject it out. Even if they hear, they're not going to hear. They're well set. Now, I contend that everything is not a cycle, that there is something even above a cycle, that what makes gods gods. The world in its chaos here, and the world has always been in chaos. That's why, because there are so many gods here, so many ideas, all seeking the opportunity to become alive, to become something more than just the thought itself. That rare opportunity to have an idea that suddenly is given birth into this realm that begins to affect the other gods, because when you have, in our case, they say well over 8 billion. I'm not sure how I don't know who's counting the clicker, but let's just go with that. Then you've got 8 billion gods here. Now, not all gods are the same. So I want to start with what would be the foundation of most people's belief system, particularly in the Western world. We have a particular belief system that wants to dominate the world in its construct, and it's called the Bible. Now, your opinion on the Bible is your opinion, and I contend that it is probably one of the most interesting occult books I know of. Powerful magic in that book. And you get caught up into it, and you're suddenly in Oz. Oz is that place that, you all go looking for the wizard. We know. So anyway, I'm going to prosper for this purpose on this lecture is that we're going to start out with that as a foundation. So if the Bible is accepted for whatever it is, I'm not, whether it's actual history or not, it is in this reality, in this realm. The first piece of evidence that where we are gods, and it was recognized, was by this group of being, whether it was the Elohim, whether it was Enki, Inya, whoever it is. They seem to be very preoccupied with us. They seem to be overly exerting themselves into our reality. And that's interesting because here is one of the keys. It says, behold, the man has become like one of us. So, Doctor, my challenge to you would be, this is written, now whether it's factual or not, it does bear evidence in this realm. If we were in a court of law, this would be accepted as a tenet of evidence supporting the hypothesis that we are in fact gods, because now we have those gods saying, hey, they're like one of us. Now, you can't be like something and not be it. So here we contend that we are God. Now, it's interesting because as you go through the narrative, everything that happens here happens because of us. Clear evidence that we create what we speak. This one I always found weird was that, and the Lord regretted that he had made man on earth, and he was grieved at his heart. And then after he creates mass genocide, he repents. Anyway, now to get to the fact that where we are gods, I bring the second piece of the evidence on this accord that we are in fact gods is that we come into the story of the Tower of Babel. The flood has happened. We're now all out there. We're having sex. We're having disco parties. Dogs and cats are living with each other. We're having a good time, man. And the thing about it is, which makes it even more compelling, is that we are all on the same page. I mean, we really dig this. It's cool. Yeah, we're unified. And so we decide that we're going to build this spaceport that can take us to this realm that today we would say, well, it doesn't really exist. It did for them, and they were us are them. And this is amazing because, and by the way, I highlighted the Lord because this is not the Lord God. This is the Lord, not God, Lord. and comes down and he comes and he looks at this, and they call us the sons of men. It's interesting because as gods, there's different kinds of gods. We're going to see that. And anyway, this is what I found interesting. We know the story, but it bears to hear it again. And it says in this Lord character, I don't know who this Lord is. I don't know. It's not God. It may be Yahweh. I'm not sure. Said, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. Now, there would be great knowledge. Think about it, where everyone understood everyone else. No confusion, no ambiguity, no need to translate. No. And it said, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. So it seems like they were pretty scared of us. And now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them. Well, I contend that that is a God. What does a God do? A God creates, alters, enhances reality. It's what gods do. Gods create. So I just found this really interesting because we are so screwed when you look at this as a factor of, oh man. So taking then the position that we are gods, the thing about it is we're not taught that. Our society, our foundation of beliefs is that we are servants. We are below, not equal with God. And it's heresy for any human to say that they are God. Not even religious people would have the audacity to declare such a statement. But if you doubt the veracity of my statement, I want to present that the reason why is that because you've been taught that you're not a God. And darling, you are. So I put together, I was meditating and was coming up with some ideas. And as I went out there, and I said, well, all right. So what would a God do? Well, so I titled this one Myths and Facts. Gods do not know everything. Even if you're at the very top, and why? Because if you say that there is such an energy, a consciousness that knows everything, it would cease to exist. It would be in a living hell. There's no purpose for it. There's no reason for it. It would be out of sync of everything. I contend that as gods, we may be able to see a potential future, but we never know everything about that future. Now, some would disagree. That's fine. So the first thing I contend, gods, you and I, we're gods. Even the God that the people want to worship and what have you does not know everything. Hey, my evidence for the fact that the God in the beginning apparently didn't know that light was good. Apparently, it had to expand or challenge its reality. And when it spoke this thing in, who knows how many eons that it was forbidden to think about light, whatever that light was. It's not the same light we have today, or at least we're taught, but there is this light, and it didn't know. It says specifically, and God saw that it was good. Okay. Gods, all gods, must learn in order to increase in power, understanding, and wisdom. It's not given. There's no free tickets here. The lazy ones, the lazy gods, are the ones that continually are weighed down in this muck we call matter. So what are you saying, Steiger? We're all lazy? Didn't say that. I said they were stuck. 3, gods, goddesses. Little g, capital G, all cap G's, O-D. I actually can hear a feedback. Oh, 1 second, folks. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Had to reconnect the dial. All gods naturally seek knowledge, for not all gods are the same. There are many kinds and types of gods, small g, gods, again, capital G, and then gods. All gods are gods, create. It is a natural function. No god of any kind should be worshipped. When I came out from the God spell, the first thing I had to begin to realize was that it's the question James Kirk asked in Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country. Why would a god need a starship? I mean, why would a god want worshipers? Think about it. Gods do and will kill others of their own kind and outside of their kind. Talk about a cycle. There is cycles within this cycle. All gods of all types are both perfect and imperfect. It really depends on kind of the dimension, the realm, the reality we find ourselves in. All of us are heading for another reality. I contend that we're all not going to the same reality in the next realm. There are what are called rogue gods, small g, capital G, and then all caps. There is no salvation. Gods of all kinds have no need to be saved. Saved from what? Ourselves? One of the things I had to contend myself, if there is this saving process, what's happening? I mean, you're altering an already existing creation. Now, if we as gods can do that, does that mean that as gods we can be as well? Gods are both good and evil. There's no difference. One has the other. All gods have multiple personalities, attributes, abilities, and powers. All religions are God-made creations of themselves. Gods can and do die. Death is as much alive as life is death. Gods, as gods, we exist in both states. Not all gods are trustworthy. Some gods do not do well in certain dimensions. Any god can ascend to a higher state to become a god, capital G, or even a G-O-D. So just a little foundation, I'm sure. Give me your comments on this. I mean, uh, this is certainly not, how should we say, uh, well, kosher, I guess. It would be highly controversial. However, by all the evidence, everything I've read, the Bible, the Torah, even when I've ventured into the Quran, other such books state this very fact. And the idea of death as a god seems foreign, but actually it's not. Again, we exist in both states. So, get out of here. Like, okay, I'm out. So there you go. Now, I don't get lost in the semantics when someone says explain what God is. Well, God is you. It's that ability, that consciousness, observer, observed. It's the ability to both be in one place and no place at all. It's the ability to expand the realms of your thoughts. So, um, huh, that's pretty cool. Just reading something. So, there you go. So, we continue to see that 2024 is being hyped as this year of just bad things everywhere. You know, we got a president that's going to be impeached, found guilty, most likely. We got another former president that's going to be, and this is all designed to create chaos, confusion. And that's what happens to gods. We read the same story in the Greek mythologies. The gods eventually destroyed themselves or at least ceased to exist because of what? State of confusion. We, as you could say, lesser gods, we may be lesser in degrees, but nevertheless, we're still gods. We create this. No god of an unseen force ever dies on a battlefield. No. And to show the fact that we are gods, we have all these other energies, these entities that want to be a part of us. They want to be a part of this thing called now, this thing that we call the perception of reality. It's beyond desire. They have to be involved. Why? Because we're the fucking gods that's doing all the creating here. They're not. We are. So, yes, Joe, to answer your question, yes. Again, we're limited in our thoughts of what other gods are. You can't tell me that every human being has a soul. In fact, you could look at this argument that as a god, I have no need of a soul. Now, we may like to create such a thing in here in this realm because we all have our own personality, but I contend that that is consciousness. As I contend, all of us have multiple personalities. We have multiple aspects of ourselves. All the great teachers say go within. Well, if you go within, you begin to find out that within is unlimited. That's a God. Hey, Lady Ellen. uh, so, F. Kitty, you're right. The world is a God incubator. Yeah. So we're going to get into Mr. Cotting's book. Looking forward. I have sent out the invite on him because it's it's a beautiful thing. If 2024 is being set up, then gods are creating it. And there's not these mystical, invisible, so-called, religious gods. I told someone this in an email the other day. I said, Jesus was never a Christian. If you want to buy into the myth, he was Jewish. There was no Christian. He would have rejected the religion summarily. Well, that's heresy. Sacrilegious. Yeah, well, kiss my ass at the same time. So as gods, I know I do this. There's many of you here. I think of JD, I think of Nina, I think of others. We know about evocations. I've taught it here. There's a reason for it. Because as a god, you have at your disposal billions of non-gods. They are non-gods. They're not like us. Whether we're in these physical bodies, these avatars, or if we get back into our natural states. They will move in the astral realm. There is that essence, and we're getting into that. So, chapter 1, consider this your first day at school. You may say, well, I already know that. That's fine. Then join with everybody else and share your knowledge. But let's listen to see if this adds to, increases, or maybe you just say, no, it's cool. What I can say about evocations is that it's so powerful, it's used at every church, every temple, every synagogue. Evocation is the ability to call into perceptual reality a being, an entity, a spirit, or intelligence, which is, prior to its materialization, held captive either in the spiritual dimension, in a field of consciousness, or even in the imagination. We create living beings. Every one of us do. The elemental principle of evocation, when adhered to, allow the full materialization of the spirit, allowing not only your senses to interact with that being as if it were a person of flesh and blood, but also allowing the spirit to interact with all, get that, with all observable reality. I have seen this, folks. If you come out of the Pentecostal and used to attend camp meetings and, you know, even, whatever you want to call it, you you'd see this. There were spirits there, a lot of them. Power of evocation is twofold. One, evocation allows the individual to literally summon forth armies of spirits, angels, and demons to bring his or her will to pass in this world. Evocation is also the foundation of creation, bringing that which does not exist in any verifiable way into existence into this world, calling those things that be not as though they are. In learning the art of evocation, you are, in reality, learning how to become a living God. Again, it's the story of the woman who died as a pauper and realizing she had what had been bequeathed by her former employer, in excess of today dollars in billions. Preparatory immersion. The subjective synthesis, which is the integration or full insertion of the individual into the system and paradigm in which he will operate, is essential to his ability to summon forth an unreal entity from the depths of a universal imagination into objective and observable reality. Not playing head games here. We're talking the ability for you to actually summon forth these beings. Armies. One of my teachers, Lester Summerall, was very keen, saying that most people do not understand the spirit realm. They have very limited understanding. And he says those that do, those who can grasp what's really there, they're the ones that seem to be the outstanding ones. Many a leader in politics, Hollywood, etc., is been rumored to tap into these armies. In modern times, with worldwide information as accessible as mouth clicks and button presses, such a preparatory immersion into the realm of the spirit is most often the most easily conducted through intellectual identification with the system, through a sort of mental immersion, prolonged as to blur the barrier between real and imagined. I have submitted an idea that it's yeah. So imagine putting on a set of virtual reality glasses, the headsets. Now imagine that you're using very unknown rituals to conduct your particular session with. It's the next level. It may be, in fact, the barrier, the bridge that so many of us for decades have been hearing about and seeking. It may very well be that virtual reality is that bridge. Think about it. If you look at the games that's already there, we're already there. If the intellect can be bypassed altogether through a direct route into the imagination is carved, providing an undisturbed path beyond ordinary observation, allowing the operator to descend without limitation into a world where mystery and miracle are made manifest. Think about wealth. There's a difference between being rich and wealth, but imagine wealth having the ability of manipulating flows. Use or development of a working system. Somewhere along mankind's spiritual evolution, we discovered specific syntactical methods by which invisible or even imaginary forces can play upon this three-dimensional realm to often alarming degrees. Think of the private societies, the private groups. Yeah. A two-way bridge was then drawn between the spiritual and the physical, or otherwise between the imaginative and the real, allowing that which is physical to pass into the spiritual and that which is spiritual to affect the physical. What this all comes to is that because of the limitations imposed by yourself on yourself, in order to penetrate into the mystery, a reliance on that which is established in your own culture as effective is required. Alternatively, the adoption of another culture and system is also effective. attainment of omnipotence. In order to invoke an entity into four-dimensional materialization, simple four-dimensional models of action and interaction are not sufficient. The evocator is not summoning an entity from another realm as much as he or she is summoning existence as a whole to alter entirely enough to allow such an impossibility to become present. Think about it. I can tell you this. Talk to someone who's in the gaming industry. They know that there are certain individuals that seem to have something. They're lucky, but their luck is, well, borders on almost the supernatural. It is his task then to create a new world, a world wherein gods and spirits commune with mortals, and then to replace the former world with the one of his creation. Substantial contact. A large part of the modern evocation ritual attempts to fulfill this single elementary principle of gaining and maintaining substantial contact with the spirit to be materialized. Some occultists will meditate upon the sigil of the spirit to be called and will recite incantations to bring it forth. I've got a number of them here already loaded up. Some operators spend hours concocting various oils and incenses specific to the astrological attributions of the spirit. The practice of dressing wholly in the planetary colors of the spirit for days preceding the ritual is common, as are daily devotions to the spirit, spear, or god form associated with the spirit. Despite the most fervent assertions that these practices in their own right bring the spirit into materialization, in actuality, they only serve to create a substantial psychic contact between the evocator and the evoked. Incantations. Certain sounds that can only be made with the human vocal apparatus seem to put into motion immediate and substantial shifts in the environment, in the being of the operator, and in existence as a whole. Unfortunately for adherents to the system of the traditional grimoires in which the conjurations used to summon such a spirit exhausted up to a half an hour, such transformative and transfigurative orations most often consist of only one or few syllables. The intonation and repetition of which alter the whole of existence in accordance with the inherent intent of the mantra. I mean, we've seen this. Think about it when you were, as a kid, building a fire, and later, how you can begin to get into a chant, you can begin to get into a mantra, so to speak, and you start building that intensity. I've seen it in prayer rooms. You know, we invoked spirits. We invoked the angels to come down. We invoked the Holy Spirit. I mean, we were, and you're doing this fervently, where particularly when you're praying in tongues and you start getting into this supernatural place where the very air is charged. Happens in all realms. You know? And we just were taught that those are angels. I have no idea what we've actually brought in. It seems like when the door is open, it's almost like, rushing for the door. You don't know who's coming in. Communication. The whole operation of evocation and all of the necessary force and power exercised to facilitate the materialization of the spirit ought naturally to set the evocator upon those crossroads. In the gap between the physical and the spiritual, between the world that was and in the world that is being created, wherein the operator will witness the demon rising from the smoke of an incense or the steam of fresh blood, stream of, excuse me, or from the vital effluvia of the earth and its microscopic inhabitants. That's deep because we all know, it's like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. As you get smaller, things get bigger. And you find out that there are a whole lot more things. It is at this crossroads area between consciousness and unconsciousness, between life and death, between flesh and spirit, that communication with the spirit is had. I'll tell you another thing when that can happen as well. It's the minute of orgasm. That's that sex magic. Anyway, issuing a task. If you're going to do it, might as well have a task ready. As I was told decades ago, this was as a Christian, that most Christians live and die never realizing as well is that they, again, had billions of angels just pleading to go do something. Which tells me, I don't know, is the spirit realm that boring? This is where the action's at, Yeah. Evocation of any spirit into physical materialization is indeed the template of pure creation out of something, out of nothing. And I am, Trina, you're right. You're so grateful for what I learned. Now faith is the evidence, the title deed of that which is not seen, created out of a substance that brings it into the now, calling those things that be not as though they are. It's in me. I got the music in me. So when I read this, it's just a matter for me is to focus in and what is it that I really want to materialize. If you're wanting to materialize, for instance, wealth, you have to be aware of the competition. There's a lot of people who are hoping. There's a lot of people that are praying, that somehow or another wealth will increase. They forget the fundamental basics, but you have to realize that chatters up clutters up the hallway, so to speak. You have to be able to push through all that. Somebody needed to hear that. All right. You must already be God to be able to perform such a task. Do not, therefore, attempt to approach the matter as a sniveling adolescent wondering, will it work? Failure with 1,000 faces will assail you. This is where the multiple personalities have to come in. As it has been said, if you will only learn to doubt your doubts, you'll never doubt your doubts again. Yeah. Something else I'll tell you, where people fail in prayer, they think they have to do repetitive prayers, continue to ask for something. Actually, that is evidence of disbelief. Now, going back several decades. So if I had this, we were in a study group, I would simply say, if you really believe that you're going to pray to some supernatural unseen being, that you need a new car or something like that, well, if you're going to play the lottery, then make sure, right? Make sure that you have a full understanding of what's going on. Because you see, you only need to ask once. If you've asked twice, you just called yourself and whoever you're praying to a liar. Because why would you need to ask for something again if you asked for it the first time? Think about that. If you're serious, the minute you freaking speak it out and the minute you firmly believe, if you believe that those things that you say in your heart, they shall come to pass. You're a God, baby. By the way, I'm still in my presentation. So this is what happens because you're going to hear the thousand voices. What makes you think you're going to get that? Look at everything around you, everything that you do, and the thousand voices. Slaughter them. I have this samurai sword in my mind. I just go, cut their throats. Guarantee they ain't going to talk anymore. In the eyes of a thousand. Anyway, I am not concerned that you use your power wisely or that you use your power for the good of this ideology or that presumption. I do insist, however, that you do use your power. That's the problem with those people. They don't use their power. And let me tell you, it's like a muscle. If you think you're going to go into the gym and start doing bench presses of 300 pounds and you've never lifted 50 pounds, you're going to crush yourself. You're going to, wipe yourself out. Don't do that. The secret in believing in money, by the way, is not to come in and say, well, I want to win, I want $1 million. You don't have the faith for $1 million. Don't even go down that. Again, try a penny. Once you get past a penny, try a dime. Get past the dime, go big time. Go for a quarter. And then put on the big boy pants and believe for $1. And then go up. Once you know it works, it works. But the author's right. The A is spot on. Use your damn power. Rent the veil between the worlds and build empires upon the earth for money, sex, love, family, country, pride, altruism, or any other reason, but do have a reason. In my youth, I used my power in getting sex. It worked. Just saying. It also worked in entrepreneurship. Statute of limitations will run out. I was just a teenager. But, I had loyal customers. Want a trip? Evocation is the template of creation. And if you evoke with the intention of nothing, then indeed nothing is what you will create. Dismal. All the while, throughout the preparation for the ritual of evocation and during it, you have not only been in the process of defining and creating the form and manifestation of the demon, but you have also been defining and creating a new reality, a new world more suitable to your specific needs. With a mighty exultation, like Brahma let the new world flow out from you. Go now and bring to pass that which I have commanded, is your declaration of the creation of your new world. With that single statement, Let the demon go out into the world, into the void, to lift up the firmament of your world, and likewise let your desires, your thoughts, and your attachments to your creation go. In the moment that the shock wave of desire leaves you, that which you have previously desired will be delivered. Psychological retraction. Many occult systems would call this principle grounding. Immediately after giving the final command to depart, blow out the candles, smother the incense, and make yourself a sandwich. Do something that remove your thoughts from the ritual, from the crossroads between the worlds, and will place you again in a mundane reality, allowing the collective observation of reality to merge with the new reality that you have just created, without the interference of your continual thoughts, emotions, and attachments to it. The summoning rite. Now that the theory of the thing has been laid out, it's time to actually put into practice. One of the most common questions that I hear about evocation is, how do you get better at it? Meaning more materializations, a greater degree of communication with the spirit, or better results from the evocations. My answer to that question, evoke often. The more that you act as a god would act, using the tools that the gods would use, the more you become a living god. And then we'll get into this tomorrow and actually doing it. This is how it's done. So I hope there's at least a handful that when we get ready to do this, we can really do something. We've done it before. We're just going to up the game. And that's what it is. It is a game. I can evoke better than you can. My guy's bigger than yours. um, but it's certainly better than being a continued pawn and a non-PC in the world affairs. I see all the bad news. I see all the deception, the trickery. I'm seeing all this unfold. And, listen, folks, someone had to invoke that. Somebody did. Hey, Bonnie. Yeah. Consciously aware. How are you? I'm exceptional. Thank you. Ever learning, ever growing. That's how they say. Charlotte, right back at you. Um, I'm fed up with it. If they want this war and they want these divisions of ideology, screw that. I I don't want to participate. And I don't have to leave this world in order to see that change. I mean, let the crazy bastards do what they're going to do. I happen to know for a fact that you can go right through a mist of a crowd and no one ever see you. No one ever notice you. Try that sometime. I used to do that all the time. And I used to do it really great in conventions. Um, I would show a couple of my employees. I said, you want to really know how you disappear? And you immediately get it into your head, and you can walk right through uh, a convention floor and then have someone behind you come up and ask a person, did you happen to see the guy, blah, 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 blah? Nope. And the fact is, I actually bumped into that person and they acknowledged the fact that, excuse me, never saw me. It's true. It works. Kat, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm six. That would be true. I can see that. But looking at that. Manifesting Annie. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Make me blush. But it's true. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take a large group, I think we can really come into this. And once we have some better, understanding, if we all recognize we're each other as gods, I could easily build in my mind, a Mount Olympus set. We're coming together as God and goddesses, each of us coming from our own reality, our own dominion. And we come together and we're going to say, maybe that such and such over there needs to be changed. Think about this. You and I have the opportunity to bring down into this reality armies that will do our will. To them, it's not a question of good or evil, right or wrong. Doesn't enter into it at all. Who's making use of the power? Think about that. So, every day is Scotty's birthday. Hey, Brandy, how are you doing? Good to see you. New Yoda, good to see you as well. Yeah, Mark Smith is a good example of that. Mark, you created that. His whole situation is his own creation. We watched it manifest here. I did. And it did. Mark, you're a god. That's all I got to say. You're God, man. Brandy, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. You may have been in there, but I've at Monkey Experiments. What's up? Strike your image on a coin. Think about that. I mean, it's all around us. And I don't know about you, but I'm up for, getting an army together. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Guy says, I have an army of servitors on my land. Yeah, archers, horseback, speak with them every night. It's a fact. I was thinking, is in my meditation time, is that as I look back on my life, how favor has always been. There's obviously an army that's around me. I obviously brought it in with me. Some people call them your guardian angels, guiding spirits, but I think there's more than that. I think there's I think there's a lot more than what, we were seeing, so anyway, yeah, I like coming together too. It's going to be fun and we can do it. I mean, we've started, think about this, what we've done already as a group. So, all right, let's build our own Mount Olympus. And, I like wearing togas. I think it's a very comfortable attire. I think you can do a lot with it. I think you can add color and, different type of material. Just saying, I prefer to wear sandals anyway. So I'm all into that. So there we go. We'll just have to meet on our Mount Olympus. We'll do this privately on Zoom and we're going to have some fun with this. All right, folks, we'll pick up here tomorrow and thank you, all of you. You're beautiful. And Doc, how do you think I did? Did I do all right? Let me know. So thank you, Blazing River. All right, everybody. So have yourselves a fabulous Thursday, and we'll pick up on Friday.